night ended in a hail of bullets.
He shot 3 times.
Any sign of the shooter?
No. Wait a minute.
The 911 caller saw someone over the body going through his pockets.
The person looked like they were robbing him.
When police begin their investigation, they locate more than one possible suspect.
What they find out is on the video, there were 4 people.
But was the shooting simply a random attack? Or was this a targeted killing?
We find out later they kind of knew each other.
Rich, your brother?
It seems like they were connected with one another.
And when police finally unravel the connection, it exposes the jealous truth.
She kept her relationship a secret.
They dated years ago, it was over, and it was done.
He was not just jealous, but potentially violent.
He was out for revenge.
November 21st, 2012. It's the day before Thanksgiving in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the state's biggest city.
There's a lot of anticipation in the air. It's a time where most people in Minneapolis are spending time with their family and getting ready for Christmas.
But one Minneapolis man won't be home for the holidays.
Just a little bit before midnight, there was a 911 call that someone had been shot.
911. Do you need police, fire, or medical?
Yeah, I think I just heard gunshots.
He said, I'm looking out my window and I see a man on the ground who's been shot.
Any sign of the shooter?
No. Wait a minute.
Still on the phone with 911, the caller sees someone approach the man on the ground.
He sees this person rifling through his pockets.
He tells the person on the phone, I think he's the one who did it.
Do you see a gun?
No.
The 911 caller lowers his voice, almost as if he's fearful that this person could see him.
But then, to the caller's relief, the man flees.
Okay, all right, he's running away.
And by the time first responders arrive, he's nowhere to be found.
They did find a man on the ground.
There's no pulse.
He shot 3 times, and they pronounced him dead at the scene.
And whatever the other man was looking for, it wasn't his wallet.
They go through his pockets, they find his ID, and discover who it is.
Richard Jenkins.
30-year-old Richard Jenkins had grown up in Minneapolis.
Minnesota is an interesting place. Really, it's a very nice place to live.
About a quarter of the Black population in Minnesota lives in Minneapolis. So there's a vibrant Black community.
But for Richard, his hometown didn't always feel welcoming.
Richard was a person who was trying to find his way in the world.
He had a rough time. He was constantly looking for a job, and he didn't have stable housing.
As a result, he's relied on family and friends for a roof over his head.
Luckily for Richard, his friend David Dillon always had his back.
They're really close friends, so much so that they refer to one another as brothers.
Even though they're not biologically related, they are very, very close.
And when Richard needed a place to stay, David and his family opened their home to him.
Thank you.
Need anything else?
No, I'm good.
David allows him to move in with him and his girlfriend Kiki and her daughter. It's just made him, I think, more stable in his life.
And soon, Richard found someone to share it with, too.
He meets a woman named Letitia Williams. Letitia is this beautiful, smart woman, and they just kind of fall in love with one another.
For Letitia, Richard wasn't just a romantic partner. He was a potential father for her child.
She was single, basically raising her child by herself and having someone there that not only appreciated and loved her, but her daughter meant a lot to her.
When you are a single mother and you're raising a child and you enter a relationship, you want for that person to embrace your child as if they were their own.
And that's exactly what Richard did.
He was crazy about Letitia's child. Didn't matter if somebody else was the father. He took that child in as his own.
Soon, Richard and Letitia were planning their future as a family.
They were talking about moving in together.
They were planning on building a life together.
And after years of struggle, it looked as if Richard had finally found happiness.
His life was looking up. It felt like he was moving in a positive direction.
He's starting to look forward to what can happen in the future.
Oh yeah, gunshot victim.
But now that future has been cut short with the discovery of Richard's bullet-riddled body.
He was lying on the ground near the I-94 sound wall.
No pulse.
The police pronounced Richard dead at the scene.
Salvage crimes.
Homicide detectives arrive minutes later and begin their investigation by speaking to the man who had called 911.
They didn't see the shooting, but they heard the gunshots.
When he looked out his window, he saw a man lying on the ground.
Dispatch said you saw the shooter?
I don't know. When I looked outside, there was a guy standing over the guy laying down.
He says he's going through the man's pockets.
It looks to me like he was trying to rob him.
Can you describe him?
They said it's a thin black man with a black hoodie and jeans on.
Presumably, this person is the shooter.
After struggling to find stability in his life, things were finally looking up for 30-year-old Richard Jenkins.
He has a really close friend named David who allows him to move in.
And Mr. Jenkins was also able to find love with a lady by the name of Letitia Williams.
Letitia's a wonderful young lady, passionate, very caring. What more could he ask for?
And she was every bit as thrilled as Richard.
She not only found a partner, but she found a father figure for her daughter.
They start imagining their future together.
But on the night before Thanksgiving, their dreams come crashing down.
Shortly before midnight, a man called 911, and he said, I just heard some gunshots.
And when police arrived, they found Richard dead on the ground near the interstate sound wall.
Richard was found shot several times.
And the man who had called 911 says he saw a man stoop down over Richard's body.
He saw the person rifling through Richard Jenkins's pockets.
Do you think he's the shooter?
He was the only guy out there.
He also noticed that that man tried to get into a car that was nearby.
And he was trying to get in that car right over there.
He kept trying to open up all the doors, and he couldn't get in the car.
And then just ends up running off.
Did you see which way he ran?
He pointed towards this other building that was nearby. And he said, I think the person ran over that way, but I have no idea where he went after that.
He never got a good look at the man's face either.
He describes this person as being a thin, short, black male. He was wearing a black jacket and blue jeans. It's a relatively generic description, but that's all he had.
Okay. Thank you for your time, sir.
But will the crime scene be able to tell them anything more about the shooting?
Richard was lying on the grass near that sound wall.
Looking around the scene, the detectives find several shell casings.
Not far from the casings, the detectives also find a set of car keys.
And according to the 911 caller, the man who'd gone through Richard's pockets had also tried to get into a car that was parked nearby.
They go and see if the keys open that vehicle, and of course they do.
But when detectives run the car's plates,
Yeah, could you run this plate for me? 293 AAF.
it doesn't lead back to Richard.
Yeah, it's registered to a David Dillon.
Interesting.
Is David the shooter? Was David a witness? Was David involved?
And could he be the man spotted fleeing the scene?
Next, the detectives decided to follow the alley the suspect had fled down, and it led them to a high-rise housing project.
And they asked the front desk, have you seen this guy? And the person working the front desk says, I have seen someone who matches the description.
The security officer said he was pacing back and forth. He wasn't really making any sense.
He'd asked to use her phone to call 911 to report that he had just witnessed a murder.
Did you let him use the phone?
No.
The security guard was concerned about how erratic he appeared to be.
She didn't want him in the building and just asked him to leave.
I told him to leave.
And so he left.
Thank you for your time.
And it isn't long before the detectives learn where he'd gone.
Homicide.
The detectives received word that a man had been taken into custody after attempting to board a city bus.
He was talking to the driver and explaining that he needs help. He needs someone to call 911.
He said, I just witnessed a shooting.
Yeah, that sounds like a guy.
The bus driver had called 911, and when the police arrived, they took the man into custody.
He's incoherent. He's not making a lot of sense.
They took him to the hospital for an emergency psychiatric evaluation.
It was only later that the officers learned he may be a person of interest in an active murder investigation.
Following up on the lead, the detectives head to the hospital, where they learn the man's name is David Dillon.
David is who the car is registered to.
You think maybe we could speak to him?
You can try. He's pretty out of it.
When David arrived at the hospital, the nurses describe him as really distraught.
Kept saying something about somebody shot his brother.
We're gonna go in and talk to him.
Thank you. They ended up having to sedate him to calm him down.
Despite that, the detectives attempt to question him.
You said you witnessed the murder.
I did. Richard.
David tells detectives that Richard was his best friend, like a brother to him.
He's saying, I can't believe I witnessed his death.
Why'd he do it?
Detectives asked David who was the shooter.
David.
But they don't get an answer.
He becomes incoherent.
He didn't have to do it.
At that point, the medication set in.
Before he's able to actually say the name, he passes out.
Come on, David.
Detectives investigating the fatal shooting that killed Richard Jenkins believe that they may have a first-hand witness, David Dillon.
David had been in hysterics, wandering the street ever since the shooting.
He is saying that his brother has been shot.
He had been so upset that police had taken him to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation.
Which is where the detectives catch up with him.
Unfortunately, the nurses had just given him a sedative, so he is really not able to talk through what happened.
So do you know who killed Richard? David. Come on, David.
The sedative kicked in, and he was too groggy to speak.
With hours until the sedative wears off, detectives are left wondering what the extent of David's involvement could be.
Police have to decide, is this person a witness or was this person the perpetrator?
The witness who called 911 didn't see anybody but David at the crime scene.
Maybe the friends had an argument and David shot Richard in the heat of the moment.
Hoping for some clarity, the detectives turn to David's girlfriend, Kiki, who's just arrived at the hospital.
She has no idea what's happened.
And you also know Richard Jenkins?
Yeah, sure.
Kiki explains that Richard lived with her and David.
She says the two friends had gone out earlier that night.
And according to Kiki, Richard and David had gone out with two other men, Jermaine Harris and Lamar Dale.
They sometimes hung together, all four of them.
They'd been acquaintances for years.
But Kiki says that Richard and Jermaine recently had a falling out.
There was an ongoing beef between the two.
What kind of beef?
Kiki tells detectives that a few months prior, Jermaine learned that Richard was dating Letitia, who is his ex-girlfriend.
Jermaine had a fit over that. It's like, wait a minute, you're dating my ex? Are you serious?
And Letitia isn't just Jermaine's ex. She's the mother of his child.
Richard was very fond of this child. Took the child in as his own. Jermaine couldn't handle that.
Maybe he didn't like Richard stepping in and trying to play daddy to his daughter.
I can see why Jermaine would be upset.
The thing is, Richard had no idea.
Letitia never told Richard that Jermaine was the father of her child or ex-boyfriend.
But eventually, Richard had learned the truth.
Jermaine and Lamar go to Richard's house, and they confront him.
Richard was shocked because he didn't know.
For whatever reason, Jermaine was still really angry about it, even though they weren't together. And they began fighting.
They're throwing punches and slugging each other.
Thought they were gonna kill one another.
Lamar had to step in to break it up.
Kiki says Jermaine and Lamar left, but the feud continued.
Richard wasn't going to take that lying down. So that night, he got some friends together, and they went out looking for Jermaine.
Richard and his friends found Jermaine, and it escalated to the point where somehow Jermaine ended up shot in the leg.
It's unclear who actually did the shooting.
But Kiki was determined to end the feud before someone ended up hurt even worse.
She called Jermaine and said, this has got to stop. Somebody's going to end up getting killed.
Eventually, the men had arranged a meeting to sit down and talk things out.
Jermaine apologized and promised not to go after Richard again.
And Richard said, we're good. You can trust that I will leave it alone.
But now, detectives wonder if Jermaine kept his promise.
Looking to learn more about Jermaine, the detectives pull his criminal record.
They realized, yeah, he has had his run-ins with the police.
He has a laundry list of charges, some of them fleeing police, drugs, even impersonating other people.
However, when the detectives go looking for Jermaine, they find that the address in his file isn't current.
They subpoena the cell phone company to try to locate where Jermaine is.
Then, after filing the subpoena, detectives bring in Richard's girlfriend and Jermaine's ex, Letitia Williams, for questioning.
She is devastated by Richard's murder.
It's her partner, a person who has stepped in as a father figure for her daughter, and he's dead.
But despite her grief, she wants to help.
Do you know where we can find Jermaine?
No, I haven't even talked to him in weeks.
However, Letitia says she has recently spoken to David Dillon.
David called her right after the shooting happened.
He told me Jermaine did it.
Detectives investigating the murder of Richard Jenkins have just learned that his girlfriend, Letitia Williams, received a call from David Dillon just moments after the shooting.
David said, I know who shot him, and it was Jermaine.
Jermaine Harris is Letitia's ex-boyfriend and the father of her child.
Richard and Jermaine had no idea that they had Letitia in common. And so it was a bombshell when they found out.
It led to a falling out between Richard and Jermaine.
Well, you know how men can be.
She tells them they dated years ago, it was over, and they were no longer in any kind of relationship.
She's been raising the baby on her own.
And she never told Richard about her fling with Jermaine.
She knew that Jermaine could be a jealous guy.
But eventually, Jermaine found out, and his jealousy boiled over into a violent confrontation.
Jermaine had confronted Richard about his relationship with Letitia.
And then Jermaine ends up being shot in the leg.
After the last fight, they got together, had a conversation, tried to work it out.
I thought that was the end of it.
It was at that point Jermaine agreed to just let it go.
Or had he simply been biding his time?
So, do you think Jermaine did?
Honestly, I don't know.
You don't know.
She didn't know for sure, but she did know that that's what David told her.
Was it the truth? Or merely what David wanted her to think?
Letitia made it clear she had no idea of who shot who.
The detectives still haven't ruled out that David is the killer.
They haven't been able to talk to David yet because he's so messed up and medicated.
But at this point, he'd been released from the hospital, and detectives bring him in for a formal statement.
Sitting down with David, he still seems shocked by Richard's death.
David just can't believe that Richard is no longer here.
He tells them that Richard was like a brother to him.
And so Jermaine Harris, you knew him too?
Yeah.
He tells them he and Richard had hung with Lamar and Jermaine occasionally.
The four of them would just spend time partying, essentially.
But David says the party ended once Jermaine found out about Richard and Letitia.
I never seen Jermaine so mad.
But Letitia said you got that sorted out.
I guess, but it wasn't like things used to be.
David said Richard really did not trust Jermaine anymore and really didn't want to spend any more time with him.
That's why David says he was surprised when Jermaine and Lamar showed up at his house on the evening of the murder.
They wanted to hang out, you know, like clear the air.
And Richard was okay with that?
Yeah, he was like, why not?
Despite the past tension, they all decided to party together.
They just wanted to have a good time that night.
So they agreed to go to a gas station to get some cigarettes.
They took two separate cars.
Jermaine and Lamar were in Jermaine's SUV, while David and Richard took David's car.
So you got cigarettes?
Yeah.
After they left the gas station, the guys decided to go to a secluded area near I-94.
They're right next to one of those sound barriers that are next to that freeway.
Once there, all four of them gathered in Jermaine's SUV, where they dipped the cigarettes in PCP.
See, man, no hard feelings.
Yeah,
You know
sure.
how it is.
Yeah.
They were talking and laughing, and eventually they were gonna say goodnight.
Man, I messed up. You need me to drive? Yeah.
David had to use the bathroom, so he stepped to a tree, to urinate.
Richard was standing there. When I turned around, that's when it happened.
He turns around and he sees Jermaine get out the car with a gun.
He sees him shoot Richard 3 times.
And what did you do?
I hit the dirt, man. I thought he was gonna shoot me too.
Instead, Jermaine jumped back in the SUV with Lamar and they raced away. David says that as they fled the scene, he ran to his friend.
Oh, Lord. I got you, bro.
He wanted to drive his friend to the hospital, but Richard had his keys.
So he starts fumbling in Richard's pockets to see if he has them somewhere.
How can you find the keys?
David could not locate any car keys on Richard's body. He goes over to the vehicle, hoping that Richard has set the keys in there, but they're locked.
So, without a phone, David rushed for help.
David ran to the nearby housing projects and asked the guard at the desk to call 911.
When that didn't work, he tried getting on the bus to ask for help.
He's still dealing with the PCP. He's trying to figure out what to do, but everybody can see that he's high.
It's easy to kind of feel sorry for him.
Assuming he's telling the truth.
They only have David's word that Jermaine and Lamar were there.
All right, you're free to go.
But there may be a way to corroborate at least some of his story.
Detectives contact the gas station where David said the 4 men stopped to get cigarettes.
As they hoped, the gas station has security cameras.
They see on tape that Lamar and Jermaine, Richard, and David were all together at that gas station on the night of that murder.
The things that David has said are starting to line up with the facts.
Minneapolis detectives investigating the murder of Richard Jenkins have obtained surveillance video from a gas station that shows Richard with Jermaine Harris less than half an hour before he was shot.
Richard's friend David Dillon told police that he and Richard had been hanging out that night with Jermaine and his friend Lamar Dale, smoking cigarettes laced with PCP.
Now they have independent evidence to establish that it wasn't just Richard and David, it was also Lamar and Jermaine.
Detectives want to question both of them, if they can find them. They hope phone records can lead them to Jermaine.
They get a search warrant so they can dig into his phone. And one of the reasons you're looking for that is because of GPS, the ability to actually determine where that phone is located.
According to the GPS data, for the 48 hours following the murder, Jermaine's phone has been all across the Midwest.
The phone records indicate that Jermaine is on the run.
Jermaine is in Wisconsin. Jermaine is in Indiana. Jermaine is in Ohio. And so they're tracking him, but they can't get a hold of him yet.
However, Jermaine's friend, Lamar Dale, is still in Minneapolis. And 5 days after the murder, he's located at an apartment in the city.
When the police finally pick up somebody, you never know exactly how they're going to behave. Some people are violent, some people are angry, but sometimes people are relieved. That is exactly how Lamar is.
Brought in for questioning, Lamar agrees to give detectives a statement.
He said to police he was tired of looking over his shoulder.
Surprisingly, he was relieved. He was happy to not have to be on the run anymore.
Lamar acknowledged that there were scuffles and fights between Jermaine and Richard in the past.
Lamar says that he was there in July during the initial brawl.
Jermaine might have killed him out and stepped in.
And then he was also there later that night when Jermaine was shot in the leg.
So, did Richard shoot him?
I don't know. That's what Jermaine thought.
Jermaine vowed to get revenge on Richard.
Lamar goes as far as to say that he believes that Jermaine was stalking Richard.
And according to Lamar, he and Richard's friend, David Dillon, both tried to defuse the situation before things went too far.
Lamar said that in September, he and David sat down with Richard and Jermaine to talk it out.
They kind of agreed to let it go at that point.
So Jermaine didn't say anything else about wanting to get even with Richard?
No. Thought it was all good.
They all kind of got back together, would occasionally hang out. It wasn't all the way back to normal, but it was at least kind of tampered down.
When they ask about the night Richard was shot, Lamar claims he doesn't know anything.
He says he wasn't there, he wasn't involved, he has no idea what happened.
I swear, man.
He says, I never saw him that night. I don't know anything about this.
But detectives know that's a lie.
The police have videotape from a gas station showing these four men together.
So you didn't go out to I-94 with Jermaine?
After that, Lamar shuts up. He refuses to speak, and unfortunately, police didn't have enough to hold him, so they have to let him go.
It's a disappointing end to the interview. But Lamar isn't really the one that the detectives are after.
Detectives get a tip Jermaine is back in town.
Jermaine was at a gas station, and someone called the police.
He's picked up and brought in for questioning.
They want to get to the bottom of why he could have possibly shot Richard.
So we heard you went out with Richard the night he was killed.
Man, I don't know anything about that.
He claims he had nothing to do with Richard's murder.
He also says he'd moved past being angry with Richard over Letitia.
Jermaine, he tells police, this is water under the bridge. We've settled our differences. I don't have a problem with Richard. I have no clue about any of the things that you guys are talking about.
However, Jermaine doesn't stop there.
Unlike Lamar, Jermaine admits that he's with Lamar and David and Richard that night.
This is a red flag to police.
I don't know, I wasn't there.
Lamar said he wasn't there. Jermaine said Lamar was there. These stories don't match, and now they know they're on to something.
Somebody's holding information back for some reason.
Was it possible that David, high on PCP, had misidentified the shooter?
Jermaine Harris has just admitted to detectives that he and his friend, Lamar Dale, had met up with Richard Jenkins and David Dillon on the night that Richard was killed.
The group did go to the gas station and had been smoking wet sticks that night.
But that isn't what Lamar had told investigators.
Lamar told them that they hadn't been hanging out together at all.
But Jermaine's story matches what Richard's friend, David Dillon, told them that night. And gas station surveillance videos showed the four men together.
And then what?
Nothing. That was it.
Jermaine told police that he and Lamar just went home. They were done for the night. So if something happened after that, Jermaine's like, I don't know, but when I left, they were all okay.
So then why did you leave town the next morning?
He said he took the next day off to go to Chicago to visit family.
But the detectives believe that's a lie.
You left town because you thought the whole thing would blow over, right?
No, I told you.
Well, you can just tell it to the jury then.
Jermaine is arrested for murder.
And hoping to prove it, The police and prosecutors lean on Jermaine's friend, Lamar.
The Hennepin County Attorney's Office subpoena Lamar to come in and tell the grand jury what he saw.
He admits that he saw his friend, Jermaine, shoot and kill Richard Jenkins.
To the district attorney, the case looks like a slam dunk.
The star witness for the prosecution is Lamar. He's there, he saw it happen, and he heard Jermaine say, "I shot him."
But when the case goes to trial in July of 2013, the jury hears something different.
Lamar changes his story. He says, "I don't remember what happened that night."
He says the only reason why he said the story about Jermaine shooting Richard was because he felt pressure from the prosecution.
He felt like if he didn't say what they wanted to hear, he was going to get punished.
The judge has no choice but to declare a mistrial. But the district attorney refuses to give up.
The police and the prosecutors were determined.
The case goes to trial again with a change of strategy.
The charge against Jermaine was changed from first-degree premeditated murder to the lesser charge of second-degree intentional murder.
Lamar is called to the witness stand again.
This time, Lamar knew for sure that if he didn't give the prosecution all they wanted, he'd be tried as an accessory to murder.
And this time, Lamar comes through.
Lamar tells the truth this time.
Lamar tells the jury that on the night of November 21st, 2012, he, Jermaine Harris, David Dillon, and Richard Jenkins stopped at a secluded spot near Interstate 94 to smoke cigarettes laced with PCP.
The four of them climb into Jermaine's SUV and get high.
Richard, thinking he and Jermaine have buried the hatchet, gets out of the car with David.
But just as they're about to get into David's car to leave, there's a delay.
Sure. I'll be right back.
David had to go to the bathroom really bad, so he looked for a nearby tree.
All of a sudden, Jermaine gets out of the driver's seat of the SUV.
Yo, where you going?
Lamar says he had no idea what Jermaine was about to do.
Lamar goes on to say that he did hear several shots.
Yo, Jermaine, man, what would you do?
He asked Jermaine, "What happened, man?" And Jermaine says, "I shot him." And they both took off.
And that testimony is enough for the jury.
This time, there's no mistrial.
The jury finds Jermaine guilty of second-degree murder, and he is sentenced to 37 years in prison.
In Minnesota, he will serve 2/3 of that. So that means Jermaine is going to be an old man by the time he walks out of a jail cell.
By determination and perseverance in staying with this case and trying it, they were able not just to get a conviction, but to get a dangerous person off the streets.
The prosecutors, the family of Richard Jenkins, his girlfriend, they're all happy that finally justice has been served.
But justice can't replace what Jermaine's desire for revenge took from those who loved Richard Jenkins.
The world lost a caring brother, a boyfriend, and a father figure when his life was cut short.
Who knows what he could have done if he had been given the opportunity? It's easy to think about him as a statistic. He wasn't a statistic. He was a man who was hoping for a better life.